I am here to talk about the other America, that is to say, America with an accent. Puerto Rico, Latinos in the United States now more than 40 million strong. I'm going to begin with a poem about the island of Puerto Rico. I did a reading the other day in Newcastle, and in the middle of the reading, a gentleman put his hand up and said, you know, I don't want to be rude, but where is Puerto Rico? I think most of you know, but in case you don't, Puerto Rico is a small island in the Caribbean near Venezuela, only 111 miles long, only 4 million people. We could fit quite neatly inside of England. Racial polyglot, combination of Spanish, African, and Taino Indian coming together for 500 years. So you look at me and not know what you're getting. Of course, once a Spanish colony and now a colony of the United States. Very high rates of unemployment, poverty, and so on and so forth. Just for the record, I am an independentista. I believe in the independence of Puerto Rico from the United States. And don't be fooled by the recent primaries. The fact is that Puerto Ricans on the island cannot vote for president, and yet can be drafted to fight and die in the wars of the United States. And we do not have representation in Congress. What was that line? No taxation without representation. Anyway, I'm going to begin with a poem about the music of Puerto Rico. If you go to Puerto Rico, you go to San Juan, the capital city. If you go to Viejo San Juan, which is in fact the old city, you'll find a street there called San Sebastian, St. Sebastian Street, which is famous for its music. There's a big festival there, and all year long you can hear this music coming from the cafes and the bars and on the street itself. Much of it music that came originally from Africa, the slaves and their religion, and which survived every attempt by the Spanish to stamp it out. So for me, this street, San Sebastian, is a street of miracles, where the impossible can happen, even the end of war and the return of the dead, as you will see. I borrowed the structure of this poem from a poem by Federico Garcia Lorca called Son de Negros en Cuba. And there's a very simple Spanish refrain in La Calle San Sebastian on St. Sebastian Street. So I hope you can hear the music in the words. Here we go. En La Calle San Sebastian, Viejo San Juan, Puerto Rico. Here in a bar on the street of the Saint in La Calle San Sebastian, a dancer in white with a red scarf in La Calle San Sebastian calls to the gods who were freed by slaves in La Calle San Sebastian. And his bronze face is a lantern of sweat in La Calle San Sebastian. And hands smack congas like flies in the field in La Calle San Sebastian. And remember the beat of packing crates in La Calle San Sebastian from the days when overseers banished the drum in La Calle San Sebastian. And trumpets screech like parrots of gold in La Calle San Sebastian. Trumpets that herald the end of the war in La Calle San Sebastian. As soldiers toss rifles on cobblestone in La Calle San Sebastian. And the saint himself snaps an arrow in half in La Calle San Sebastian. Then lost grandfathers and fathers appear in La Calle San Sebastian. Fingers tugging my steel wool beard in La Calle San Sebastian. Whispering, your beard is gray in La Calle San Sebastian. Spilling their rum across the table in La Calle San Sebastian. So cousins lead them away to bed in La Calle San Sebastian. And the dancer in white with a face of bronze in La Calle San Sebastian takes rain from his hair like the god of storms in La Calle San Sebastian. And sings for the blood that drums in the chest in La Calle San Sebastian, and praises the blood that beats in the hands in La Calle San Sebastian, in La Calle San Sebastian. I am originally from the tropical paradise of Brooklyn, New York. I'm from the East New York section of Brooklyn, notorious area of the city. And when I was a kid growing up, I kept hearing about this paradise called Puerto Rico. And I finally went for the first time when I was 10 years old. Back many times since. I was just there recently. I published a book for Puerto Rico. I was doing a tour, readings in Spanish. But that first visit, no matter what the country of origin, is always unique and important. And when I got there, I saw something very weird. I wouldn't understand it for quite some time. For some reason, the people in my family prized all things American at the expense of the small daily miracles around them, things like coconuts. Like I say, I didn't get it. I think I get it now. As I mentioned earlier, Puerto Rico is a colony of the United States and has been since the Spanish-American War of 1898. It's taken as a prize of war. And one of the byproducts of colonialism is a colonized mind, a national inferiority complex. And it manifested itself in what my family was eating and drinking. So of course I had to write a poem about all this. I call this my cultural imperialism on vacation poem. Coca-Cola and Coco Frio. On his first visit to Puerto Rico, island of family folklore, the fat boy wandered from table to table with his mouth open. At every table, some great aunt would steer him with cool spotted hands to a glass of Coca-Cola. One even sang to him, in all the English he could remember, a Coca-Cola jingle from the 40s. He drank obediently, though he was bored with this potion, familiar from soda fountains in Brooklyn. Then, at a roadside stand off the beach, the fat boy opened his mouth to Coco Frio, a coconut chilled and scalped by a machete so that a straw could inhale the clear milk. The boy tilted the green shell overhead and drooled coconut milk down his chin. Suddenly, Puerto Rico was not Coca-Cola or Brooklyn, and neither was he. For years afterward, the boy marveled at an island where the people drank Coca-Cola and sang jingles from World War II in a language they did not speak. While so many coconuts in the trees sagged, heavy with milk, swollen and unsuckled. Well, many years later, I went back to the place where I grew up. I grew up in the projects of Brooklyn. I think here you call that estate housing or council estate housing. That sounds so much nicer. Right? I mean, over there we call it projects. Very American, right? Project, we're working on it. So, I went back with a film company, a film crew, as a matter of fact. I am the subject of a number of incomplete and unfinished documentaries. You're just going to have to take my word for that. So there we were. I don't even know if it was film in the camera, but we went up to the building where I grew up, and I began to remember certain things. So here's the poem that came out of it. It's called Return, 245 Workman Avenue, East New York, Brooklyn. 40 years ago, I bled in this hallway. Half light dimmed the brick like the angel of public housing. That night I called and listened at every door. In 1966, there was a war on television. Blood leaked on the floor like oil from the engine of me. Blood rushed through a crack in my scalp. Blood foamed in both hands. Blood ruined my shoes. The boy who fired the can off my head in the street pumped what blood he could into his fleeing legs. I banged on every door for help, spreading a plague of bloody fingerprints all the way home to apartment 14F. 40 years later, I stand in the hallway. The dim angel of public housing is too exhausted to welcome me. My hand presses against the door at apartment 14F like an octopus stuck to aquarium glass. Blood drums behind my ears. Listen to every door. There is a war on television.